Hello, everybody, and welcome to this webinar from Youth Service America on Summer of Service opportunities. We'll cover some major events that are happening this summer, including the signature event of the summer, the Civic season. And then we'll go into some planning resources on how to both choose and plan service projects over the summer that YSA has, and end with a grant opportunity that we have for 9/11 Day of Service that comes at the end of summer and beginning of fall. I'm joined by my colleagues Scott Gansky and Karen Daniel from the Youth Service America team. And to kick us off, we'll turn it over to Hope Delgado from Made by Us and the Civic Season to talk about that event. YSA really organizes around 4 major days of service throughout the year, one in each season. So 9/11 Day of Service in the fall, MLK Day of Service in the winter, our Global Youth Service Day and Youth Service Month in the spring. And the newest of those 4 events that started 4 or 5 years ago, Hope, please correct me if I'm wrong on that, is the Civic season from Juneteenth to July 4th for a good summer service-focused event. So with that, Hope, I'll turn it over to you and pull up your slides.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Hope, and I am the Program and Content Associate with Made by Us. I work on Civic Season, obviously, which is why I'm here to talk to y'all today. And then I also work on social media stuff. So I create content like for Instagram, TikTok, etc. I also currently have a cold, so I apologize if I start coughing randomly while I'm talking. Um, but cool. Okay, I see that you have the slides up. So we can go to the next one. Perfect. So, yeah, let's jump into things. So, firstly, who is Made by Us? Made by Us is a nonpartisan network of history museums, historic sites, and civic organizations across the country. Our goal is to connect young people in history and civics. The reason for this is because Gen Z right now is at a critical life stage where we are not only becoming voters, taxpayers, and entering the real world, but we're also making education and career choices. We're figuring out our values and beliefs, and we're looking for community and where we belong. And so, cultural institutions and museums have the resources, credibility, and the inviting third spaces to fill in this gap for young people. We also already know that there has been a gap there of serving young people, so that's why Made by Us exists. Next slide. So, Civic Season is a flagship program of Made by Us. Civic Season is a period of time that lasts about 3-ish weeks that bridges America's newest federal holiday, Juneteenth, with our oldest, July 4th. It's a time focused on serving young Americans. And essentially, during this time, we have a nationwide network of museums, cultural institutions, libraries, parks, and so on, hosting events and programming both in person and virtually. Civic Season was created at a time of unrest. There was a lot of advocacy happening for social issues, and there is kind of this like collective realization and call for canceling July 4th and really asking the question, what and who are we celebrating on July 4th? And maybe we need to work on that. So, the idea of Civic Season is to invite young people into these spaces and think about where we are as a country, explore our own roles in shaping the future, and take action in our own communities. We can go to the next slide. Cool. So, yeah, this is our 5th year running Civic Season, which is really exciting. And we'd love to have everyone participate. Like I mentioned, we have programs and resources being hosted by hundreds of museums and orgs across the country in all 50 states. And these events might look like bingo nights, trivia nights, museum tours, taking a course on something, webinars. We even have a pizza and paddling event, which is going to be really cool. And then next year in 2026, Civic Season will be focusing on America's 250th birthday. So definitely stay tuned for that. We have a lot of exciting things coming for that. Next slide. Cool. So let's talk about how participating, what that looks like, and what that looks like specifically for your people. So it's pretty simple. We have a ton of different ways that people can participate in civic season this year, but these are just some of our highlights for the summer. So the first thing is by finding if one of our free pizza parties are happening near you. This is one of our most popular programs that we offer. The idea behind this is to replicate the nostalgic classroom pizza party vibe. We have over 50 museums and orgs participating this year. And each pizza party is different. So someone might find themselves going to a mini golf game or a trivia night or a museum tour or something else. But this is just really a fun way to get plugged in, get some free food, and enjoy some history. And yeah, it's definitely a fan favorite. And then the second way here that people can participate is by finding out your civic superpower by taking this quiz. So, this is something that we bring back every year. Basically, it's a personality type quiz. I don't know if y'all have ever taken those, like, what kind of fast food are you, or like what your favorite color says about you. But it's basically that. So, you answer some questions about yourself, and then it'll tell you whether you're an amplifier, defender, connector, or nurturer. And then it'll explain what those mean. It'll give you historical figures who also fit that same superpower. And then you can check out some stickers, graphics, and even a playlist that we have, depending on your superpower. And we can go to the next slide. Cool. And then the third way to participate is by checking out our guidebook. This is our third year doing a guidebook. It is created and designed by young people, which is really cool. Our Civic Season Design Fellows created this along with a Gen Z designer that we worked with to create the visual aspects of it. This year's Civic Season theme is all about community and supporting local third spaces. So the design of this guidebook, it looks like you're walking through a museum into these like different spaces, and we highlight historical figures as you're flipping through the pages. And then we also have our two previous guidebooks that you can check out. Last year's theme was a road trip. So we had activities based on your specific region in America. That guidebook is called Connecting Our Stories. And then we have the Story of You guidebook, which is year one. That was themed around the Civic superpower quiz. So once you find out your superpower, you can go out and check that guidebook out. And then lastly, I want to point out building your itinerary. So obviously we have a lot of resources and programs on our website. On our website, that's kind of like the main hub where anyone can find any civic season events. And once again, we have another personality type quiz that you can take to get a customized list of events and resources created just for you. Or if you want, people can just browse through the like over 1,000 resources that we have on our website, and you can do that too. And you can filter out by like what state you're in, or if you want to be indoors or outdoors, if you want to do an event in real time or on your own. And yeah, there's just a lot of filter features that you can toggle with. And then from there, you can add whatever events you want to your itinerary on the website. That way you have a list of things you want to do throughout civic season. And then lastly, I just want to point out this resource, and actually I'll drop this in the chat for everyone. Okay. So it's called the Civic Season 100, and basically it's a list of 100 ways to get involved with your community this summer. So if you're like me and you're bored like 80% of the time, you can pull out this list and just pick something and go and do it. It's just a really good thing to have on hand. If you're stuck on what to do for civic season or just in general this summer, if you're, bored on a day, it's a good resource to hand out. Of course, visiting a museum is the first thing on our list, but there's 99 more things to do. And yeah, I doubt that everyone has done like all 100 things. So a good resource for sure. And then we can go to the last slide. Perfect. Okay. Well, that's everything for me. You can check out all of those resources and more by scanning the QR code on your screen, or you can visit our website. If you're an organization and want to be a part of Civic Season, the deadline to submit events is this Saturday, but the good news is if you already have an event that falls in between Juneteenth and July 4th, you can just submit that, and that is like perfect. And that only takes a few minutes to fill out, and you can also find that on our website. If you just go to the join tab at the top, it'll have everything that you need for organizations. And then, yeah, a quick plug to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Our handle is at History Made by Us. We post really funny memes, so I think y'all would enjoy it. And then I added my email if anyone has any questions, concerns, or ideas. And then, yeah, this is the website. Thanks for playing this up. But yeah, if you scroll down, this is like literally everything that you need to know how to get started with civic season planning. We have a toolkit that has like a bunch of really nice resources for, media stuff, comm stuff, graphics, how to share out civic season, how to get out the word. So that is a really good resource to have. Um, and yeah, there's a lot. You can probably spend like 4 hours just going through that. And then we also have merch as well on this same thing, on this website that you can check out, and as well as looking at other events in the past and how other museums and orgs have celebrated civic season. Awesome. Cool.
Thank you very much, Hope. Does anyone have any questions for Hope about the civic season before we jump into YSA content? Feel free to drop it into the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask a question if you have one. All right, I don't see anyone coming off mute, but if you think of anything, Hope will be hanging around while we're talking, so feel free to drop any questions for her into the chat about the civic season. The first thing that we wanted to highlight is our Summer of Service Opportunities calendar, which I'm guessing most of you here saw in last week's youth service briefing because you probably registered for this webinar from that promotion. But just wanted to run through some of the other events and programs that are happening this summer from YSA's partners. Certainly the civic season, I think, is again, kind of the biggest and signature event of the summer, but there are 24 others that we promoted, and they cover all kinds of issue areas, from supporting cancer research on Lemonade Days to LGBTQ youth rights for GLSEN's activities during Pride Month. Supporting climate change and its effects on, not supporting climate change, fighting climate change, and its effects on our oceans on World Ocean Day. Issues around education and learning through play on World Play Day. Certainly, you just heard about the civic season. Helping Alzheimer's research and fundraising for that on the longest day, the first day of summer. Helping clean up the environment and address issues of litter through the Greatest American Cleanup. Swimming awareness, one of the biggest causes of death for young children, unfortunately, and helping teaching swimming skills through the world's largest swimming lesson in June. Supporting our parks during Park and Recreation Month. Working on police community partnerships and positive relationships through National Night Out in August. Working on blood drives, clearly a big need during the summer when donations usually drop off. Again, supporting our parks, focusing on hunger through Feeding America and other partners. And then supporting youth development organizations. So lots of different issues that you can address through different events in the summer. There's also a lot of general days, the civic season in June, United Way's Day of Action in June, Summer Learning Week in July, Nelson Mandela Day also in July, International Youth Day in August, and then ending the summer with 9/11 Day. So all of those are really open to any issue and any type of community project that you might want to work on. So certainly lots of ideas here. And again, those are all in last week's youth service briefing. And with any of those events in mind, we want to help you both kind of choose and plan activities that you might do on those days. And so I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Karen to talk about some of our frameworks and resources to help you plan projects and to share some project ideas.
Thanks, Mike. So will you pull up there we go. All right, that's what I was waiting for. So one of the things that we love to talk about at YSA is how young people can plan projects based on things that they love to do. And we call those things sparks. The Search Institute, based out of Minnesota, has done a lot of research around things that bring people joy and passion and purpose, and they call those things spark. At YSA, we have a model that we encourage young people to think about where we combine spark plus fire plus ASAP. Spark, like I said, it could be soccer, it could be cooking, it could be science, it could be animals. The possibilities are almost endless. Fire is the issue that fires them up. It's something they care deeply about in their communities. And ASAP is what we call our strategies for the main 4 ways that young people can plan projects. The first A is for awareness. And Mike's having a hard time keeping up with me. Sorry, Mike. Awareness is where young people can use their love and concern for an issue to make other people aware about that issue in their communities. It's educating, it's sharing information about how others can be involved and really teaching people about issues. The S is for direct service. Sometimes it really takes rolling up your sleeves and getting things done through cleaning up a river or serving food at a soup kitchen. The second A is for advocacy, really helping public officials and elected leaders to influence issues that young people care about through legislation and policy. And then the P is for philanthropy. Sometimes it really takes raising money to support an issue that you care about. So these are 4 areas where we encourage young people to frame service projects around things that they care about. So putting it all together, back to this first slide that we talked about, we encourage young people to think about something they love to do with their spark, how they can use that spark to really influence an issue that they care about in their community, and then pick 1 or more of those ASAP strategies to plan a project around. We have some great examples and resources and tip sheets to share with you to think about how you might do that. These 4 tip sheets are tip sheets that we did with the support of Disney around common types of sparks. The ones you see at the top of your screen are identified as some of the most common sparks that young people talk about, things that they love to do. And so we have tip sheets around these 4 different areas for thinking about how you might use a spark to influence your community. On the next slide, some of the common areas of fire that we see are again at the top of your screen. Again, the lists of types of influences are almost endless, but these are some of the most common issue areas that we see young people addressing through their projects. These are resources that we have on our website that can be accessed if you're looking for ideas for things you can adapt into projects for the summer. On to the next slide, we talked about Lead ASAP already, so we'll skip that. These are a few examples of projects that we've supported over the summer that are great examples of how organizations can support young people in being involved through this Spark Fire ASAP model. The YMCA of Los Angeles conducted great projects across 26 branches of the city, where the projects differed a lot from branch to branch, but they were all united under a common theme of youth for change. So they had a great time highlighting lots of different ways that young people were serving, some of which you see here. The next slide focuses on a project in Ithaca, New York, through the Science Center, where young people were very passionate about Protecting their environment. And so they embarked on a project really understanding water quality. And they did a whole lot of monitoring of water quality over the summer, which they then used to support Science Center's STEM efforts over the course of the year. The next slide is a project in Washington, D.C., the home area of some of us at YSA, where young people from the Dance Institute of Washington use their love of dance to do cultural awareness about different cultures where they could share with the community over the summer. Lots of people visiting Washington, of course, and they had a chance to really highlight and showcase different cultures and cross-cultural impacts through their love of dance. And then finally, Love a Sea Turtle, which has been a great partner of YSA's over the years, based in North Carolina, uses their passion for the environment to really engage young people in different environmental awareness projects, particularly around things like stormwater waste awareness and recycling and other ways that the sea is impacted by our behavior. And on to the next slide. These are the tip sheets that I mentioned around these different Spark areas, and you can find these on our website if you're looking for ideas for how to take a particular Spark and help young people lead a service project around it. This is the one on nature. You'll see different young people and the projects they've led. This is one on creative arts, which is typically the #1 spark that young people cite, and can encompass a wide range of creative arts like singing and instruments and dance and many, many different types of creative arts. Sports, again, takes on a wide range of different sports, but all under the banner of using sports to impact the community. And reading, another great love that young people often cite, looking at how books and reading can be used to benefit the community in lots of different ways. So again, these are all resources available on YSA's website at no cost.
And we'll send direct links to everything in a follow-up to everyone who registered. So you'll all receive that directly by email as well. All right, so that's a whole lot of resources and ideas on how to choose a project and what you might do. And once you've selected one, we want to share some of our planning resources of how to actually help you implement a project once you've selected it. So for that, I'm going to turn it over to Scott on our team.
Great, thanks, Mike. Yeah, so it's really important that when you're facilitating a project and empowering youth to plan a project, that they're able to go through that entire process of planning a project. And we like to look at that as that before, the during, and the after. One of the most forgotten parts, but the most important part, is before your project. So allowing youth to be able to investigate any issue, really take a deep dive with a magnifying glass, thinking about it through what organizations already exist that are targeting and focusing on a specific issue, giving them an opportunity to read articles, collect data, and really being able to choose an action strategy. And then during the project, obviously, if you have a larger group or they're working together, that's that collaboration part where students can work in task teams and really be able to organize and be able to tell that story into different groups. And start carrying out that project, whether it's something that's one-time event or something that they're doing over the long term. And then after the project, reflection is really done throughout, and that can be through writing or poetry or music or art. It's not just one standard way of reflection, and you're always reflecting with students and then demonstrating the impact that the project made on the youth, or as well as the community. And of course, just celebrating the effort. It's not always about being in the front page of a newspaper or of a website. It really is about that process of planning a project beginning to end and having that beautiful story and the journey of that a youth made from planning that project and being able to celebrate the effort that they put into making an impact in their community. And as really an adult facilitator, these are some of the things that you want to look for. 100%. These are the 5 that we've really focused on that we can tell if you're planning a meaningful project. It's that youth voice. It's stepping back as an adult and letting them plan it beginning to end. Meaningful service, making sure that they see the impact and that it's meaningful, not just cute as we often see. Community partnerships, making sure that you're working with organizations that are or experts that are already targeting that issue. And then, of course, focus on skill building, the skills that youth develop as they are getting ready to be college and career ready. And then, of course, reflection. So one of the cool things that we did, if you pull up the website, is that we were able to take all of our knowledge over the many years of creating our toolkits to make tailor-made toolkits. So for example, if you're new or experienced to planning a service project, you could click, okay, hey, I'm new to planning it. You could say your element, are you working with younger children? Let's say you're working with younger children, or middle or high school is the other option. You could either be a youth or an adult facilitator. So Mike's going to click on adult facilitator. And the cool thing is it pops up the exact guide that makes the most sense to you. So we're getting rid of all that time that you would have to spend trying to look through every single resource and asking these questions that will essentially open up a tailor-made type resource specifically for you. And whether you're new and you want something that is getting your feet wet and trying something, or you're very experienced and you want that really comprehensive toolkit, you'll have those options and we're going to meet you where you're at. And there's no right or wrong way. It's whoever you are, wherever you're at, we want to be able to support you any way that we possibly can. And so this is a great way for you to be able to find that resource that makes the most sense for you or makes the most sense for the youth that you work with. And you'll see that on our website, we have a nice variety of resources. And you'll see that if you just go under resources and trainings and under youth service toolkits, you click right there, and that's where you can answer those few questions to be able to find the right toolkit for you. And as I mentioned, over the years, we've really spent a long time making sure that we have those great options. So another thing that's great is this Youth Voice Toolkit. It's from the After School Alliance. It's really designed for organizations that are just starting to explore, really that authentically engage young people in their work. And really what makes this so powerful is that it was co-created by their Youth Advisory Council. So it wasn't just, they weren't just consulted, they were helping to design the entire resource. And so the toolkit really does that great job of laying out a clear spectrum of how youth engagement, really from the adult-led to the youth-initiated, and it really emphasizes those key practices, like meeting youth where they're at, or training adults to work in the youth spaces, listening to youth and really helping to guide their work. And so whether you're running a youth program, or maybe you're just looking at designing a policy, or trying to really deepen your partnerships, this resource is really a good starting point for you to take a look at. And so the After School Alliance did a really good job of piecing together some of those great resources for you to take a deep dive into. And so this is again another one of those key resources, and we've really been able to talk you through how to plan a meaningful project, what to look for in youth, some of the great resources that we have on ysa.org, and of course our friends over at After School Alliance, and this great resource of elevating youth voice and really giving students a chance to thrive the way they should.
Thank you, Scott. Does anyone have any questions for either Karen or Scott on all of the resources that YSA has before we close out with a little bit about our 9/11 Day work? Great. If there are, feel free to drop it into the chat, and Scott and Karen will continue to watch that. And to close out the kind of end of the summer or beginning of fall, as folks are heading back to school, but will obviously take planning over the summer, is September 11th, National Day of Service and Remembrance. And we have a grants program funded through AmeriCorps to support 9/11 Day of Service projects in this year. They are grants of $1,000 for projects that engage at least 100 youth as participants and volunteers in the project. It can really be on any issue as long as you incorporate an element of teaching a little bit about the history of September 11th and really focusing efforts on kind of honoring and paying tribute to those who both lost their lives on September 11th and all of those who rose in service, including military service in response to 9/11. So again, we'll have 60 grants of $1,000 each. Projects need to be youth-led, as I mentioned, kind of including that honoring and paying tribute and teaching a little bit about 9/11 and the history around that, and with a focus on trying to engage young people who are not usually asked to serve, which might be youth from low-income families or neighborhoods, young people of color, or other groups of young people who are often served themselves, but not asked to serve. So that could include, youth with disabilities, youth in the juvenile justice system, youth in the foster care system, children from military families, youth in rural areas, really any group where we usually talk about serving them, and we want to flip that script to having them be the ones serving their community. So ysa.org/9/11 day, you can start the application, and they are due on June 15th. So you have a couple of weeks left to apply for that. And Scott is the point person on this, so you can feel free to reach out to him with any questions on that. And we also have yet another resource tied specifically to 9/11 that as you're thinking about applying and what types of activities that you might do, we have this resource that's 11 reflections on 9/11 for how people kind of felt and responded after 9/11 2001. So we have identified kind of these 11 kind of reflective themes, and then each one has several service project ideas related to that theme. And this resource again is also available on ysa.org/9/11 day. So even if you're not choosing to apply for the grant, we hope this tip sheet and all of the service project ideas that you might do on 9/11 are good for you as you're thinking about that over the summer. So with that, we'll close out, and thank you everyone for joining us today. And we hope you make it a great summer of service.
Thank you.